Hey, good evening. How are you guys? It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. Hello, Winter Wolf. It's good to see you. You know what? You guys might notice something a little different. If you haven't been following, you might just notice, yes, indeed. And I'm only going to mention this once, maybe twice. And then, you'll be able to see it and you can make your own decision what to do with it. But you can now send a super chat if you want. There is now the ability to send super chats because today YouTube said I can monetize the channel. I can start making money with this. So I'm pretty happy about that. Well, we've had the Patreon going and we just started Subscribestar. And I already have folks supporting on Subscribestar. Well, a person, someone is supporting us on Subscribestar, and I greatly appreciate it. So anyway, I was pretty darn pleased to see that pop up. So, if you're somebody and you like the one show and you want to do a one-time super chat, you can do that now. And that's all I'm going to say about that because we're going to move on. Other than to say, I really wish it had been turned on Saturday. Because I think probably people might have dropped a few dimes in the cup. Just saying. But anyway, moving on. Winterwolf says, our Dungeon Delver should be good and rested after that 12-hour stream on Saturday. Oh, Lord! Saturday was a lot of fun right up to the end when I wanted to physically yank the drives out of this PC and stomp on them because of what friggin' OBS was doing to me. Let me just put this in. Should the OBS devs ever hear of this, and I'm going to make sure that they do, the way OBS should work, when I want to show an image, when I want to play some audio, when I want to show a video, is I drag it into OBS and drop it. I drag it into OBS and drop. Thank you, Citizen Z. Thank you so much. Citizen Z says first. Anyway. That should be the way that it works. It is not. I put together a little video slideshow thing to play over the Gygax interview. Wouldn't play. Nobody could hear the audio. Then I tried just adding the audio file. You guys remember when I first got Summer Mountains from Bards of Greyhawk, and I would play it on the channel before I got off my ass and put a video together for the opening credits, and I'd be like, this is going to be so awesome when I get this done. And people would say, oh, you're blowing out my eardrums, or oh, I can't hear it. Yeah, that just doesn't work anymore. That apparently just doesn't work anymore. Because I could point OBS at the WAV file of the interview with Gary and click play. Nobody could hear it. I crank up every volume source, desktop, microphone, default audio. Wouldn't work. I had to open Media Player on a different monitor and click play and then capture that, not with OBS, but instead I had to do it with StreamYard, and thank God StreamYard does that. I thought, last year it went so bad when I tried to play the audio. Thank God it'll work this year. Nope. Nope, it was not just a drag and drop experience. It was when I tested it over on my main PC, but not this time. OBS devs, get your shit together. I want to like OBS. There's a lot that OBS can do that I can't do with StreamYard. I can't fade video sources in StreamYard. I would love to fade between the credits and the start of the video. Thank you, Joshua. I appreciate that. I would love to fade between the credits and the start of the video. I can't. StreamYard doesn't do that. Doesn't do it. So if I switch between sources on OBS, like let me show you this. Let me show you. If I go, I don't know what my webcam is pointing at the floor, I think. Yeah, it's pointing at the floor. It's some shelves over there. And then I come back. You see, it does a nice fade transition. But StreamYard doesn't. But I can't just drag something into OBS and drop it and click play and it play. I don't understand why. OBS devs, why do you think I would drag a file into OBS that has audio and video elements and play it? So people can't hear the sound, so people can't see the video. It was frankly frustrating and embarrassing. I know I don't put on the most slick live stream. I'm working to change that. I really am working to change that. But when I get kneecapped by an application that sometimes does things one way and then other times does things another way, and it literally just varies on when the last time I ran the app was, you know, if OBS was a child and I was giving it a grade, an overall grade for, grade school, I would give it a C, just a straight C, and I would attach a note for the parents that says OBS shows a lot of potential and has a lot of energy, but it just can't seem to stay focused. Please work with him. I know he has the potential to do these things. I know he can do better. StreamYard was made for people who don't want to learn OBS. And I use OBS with StreamYard because StreamYard doesn't allow me to do certain things that OBS does. As far as I'm concerned, all StreamYard is a way to spew content to multiple websites. And it makes it a little easier for me to track your comments and to have guests on. The grunt work, the heavy lifting, all that should be done by OBS, but it's not. And OBS is living up to its name. Oh, BS! That was what I was yelling Saturday night. So that was the only black mark on 12 hours of live streaming. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you are paying attention. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I largely enjoyed it, other than the frustrations with open broadcast software. And honestly, I can't wait to do it again. I don't know what we'll do for the 3rd anniversary of the show. I don't know if it'll be that. I mean, I did an 8-hour stream for the first anniversary. I did 12 hours for the second. You guys think I should do 24 for the third? See, I don't want to peak too early. I don't want to peak too early. I don't want to be like, okay, I've done a 24-hour live stream. Now what? Now what do I do? Now I do a live stream from on top of the Orlando Eye. Now I do a live stream suspended upside down in a tank full of Mountain Dew with a rebreather on. I don't know. But I have 350 some days. Because I'll do it before the 1st of April. So I have 350 some days to sort out what I did. Thank you, Dungeon Minister. I'm glad you enjoyed what you saw. Chris, hello. Feels neat to have gotten 2 super chats already. I'm sorry. I need to shut up about it. I really do. I don't want to spoil it. But anyway. So again, I hope you guys really enjoyed the live stream. I had a lot of fun putting it on. In retrospect, I might have had more water on hand. I might have stayed hydrated better. My voice was definitely going by 11 o'clock when the bards were on. And thank you to the bards of Greyhawk for being here. Huh? How about the bards of how about those jams that the bards of Greyhawk played? Was that not awesome? Speaking of awesome musicians, this week on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I will have a member of Tinkham Road, which Tinkham Road, they're kind of a folk pop music band. Now, let me be clear. When I say pop music, I mean music that was popular at the time this music came out. Tinkham Road plays turn of the century music. I don't mean music from 1999. I don't mean go get your Ariana Grande, get your Baha Men. No, I mean music, old-timey folk music from the 1900s. And Bob Antone of Tinkham Road will be here. Bob's going to talk about, we're going to talk to him about the great Northwest myths and legends, Bigfoot, UFO, all kinds of cryptids. Now, I have slightly introduced Bob to Dungeons and Dragons. Bob knows what D&D is. And another member of the band who unfortunately will not be here this time, but will be on the stream at another time, is Jeremy Rule. He is also in, I looked down and saw Bards of Greyhawk and almost said Bards of Greyhawk because Bards of Greyhawk has a Jeremy in it. And Tinkham Road has Jeremy in it. Well, Jeremy is a member of Tinkham Road also, but it will be Bob Antone here. But Bob will regale us with a lot of cool stuff. Jeremy told me about a song, which I don't know if they have a cut that I can play for you guys yet. I'm going to have to find out about it. But it's a ballad, and the plot of this folk ballad is just, as soon as it, like, I don't think he watched on Saturday. I think he was just like messaged me. That is Jeremy Rule. Because he was like, check this out. And boom, and told me. And I was like, while I was live, while I was talking to you guys, I just glanced down and saw it and was like, in the back of my head, I was like, I am stealing that idea for a D&D game. I don't know if this is an original composition. We'll ask Bob when he's here on Wednesday. I don't know if this is a what, but I am stealing that I don't know if it's an original folk song. I don't know if it's an old folk tale turned into a new song. I don't know if it's something whole cloth that they invented. So I'm going to tell you guys the plot of it. Let me pull up Discord here. And yes, if you're new to the channel, we have a Discord. And if you're interested, please pop a message in. For $5, I'll take. No, I'm not. Don't do that. Don't do that. Next live stream, one long dungeon gauntlet, designer guest build set piece encounters, audience players will be slain. See, Paul, you got to private message me that sort of, because I would totally do that. But now the cat's out of the bag. I don't know if I can, but I would love to do that. No, you know what? Screw it. I'll do that. I don't know about the next live stream because that's tomorrow night. And I can slay them easy. But this is the song here. And forgive me, Jeremy, if I'm not supposed to tell this, but so this is what he says. I'll give you the hidden story. Now, I don't know if like it's a whole concept album. It seems to me if a character dies, the player dies. That I like. That's like one of those 2011, 2013, 2014 adolescent creepypastas. I was watching the stream, and then the guy on the stream said, I will play Dungeons and Dungeons and Dragons, and if your character dies, you will die. I tried to click off of it, but he said, ha ha ha, you cannot leave the YouTubes. And I shut off the computer, but it came back on, and I left the room, and then my phone rang, and it was YouTube, and I had to watch it. This is D&D, not Saw. Oh, I'm sorry, Damien. I'm sorry, your Monday group had to reschedule. Anyway, so I don't know if this is a concept album or if this is a concept song, but he told me about this, and I think this is awesome. Lady on the Oregon Trail freezes to death in the 1800s. She haunts the town for years after that. Then, in the 1950s, she sees a man who looks like her husband and reappears. But he can only keep her in corporeal form if he commits horrible crimes. So it drives him mad to keep seeing her. Come on. D&D or a Call of Cthulhu adventure. Come on. Is that not the coolest thing? Is that not the coolest story hook thing? I mean, even in D&D with exorcism and remove curse and abjure and all that. I love that. I love that. When he told me that, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you guys. I glance down there and I'm like, oh. Anyway, man, it just occurred to me how much like soy jack I look there. Anyway, D&D is real life. Our jobs are the game. I think you're right. You ever point at a critter and say "stupid animal," and then stop and think to yourself, you pay 30% of all the money you make so you don't get put in jail? Just an idea. So yeah. So anyway, Bob Antone is going to be here on Wednesday, and we're going to talk about all this stuff. I told Bob about owl bears, and he was over the moon with the idea of an owl bear. I got to print one up and send it to him one of these days. I ought to do that. But because I have the I guess you would call it the Chinasaur Owl Bear. I found it out on Thingiverse. I was looking for owl bears and I found it. And I fell down a somewhat deep rabbit hole because there's a fellow who's used some photogrammetry software to scan and um, but he uses them to he uses a digital camera and some photogrammetry software to scan well, I shouldn't say he uses them to, he used them to scan some Grenadier and Heritage minis. And then he uploaded them to Thingiverse. So I have a Chinasaur Owl Bear, and I have a classic Grenadier Beholder. He did the whole hirelings, the whole expert hirelings thing with a magic user in it, and the wizard's room, and a whole bunch of those. And I printed a few of them. I've shown you guys the beholder, the resin beholder that I did. I led with owl bears. That's like explaining baseball starting with the infield fly rule. Well, that's just who I am. That's just who I am. I'm Mr. Beast Ball, not Mr. Beast. That's a different guy altogether. I want to get over in that lane. I thought Critter was a person who was a fanboy of Critical Role. I consider them stupid animals. Well, I mean, you know, I've slagged Critical Role on the show before, and I'm still not a fan. But what you're talking about, that bugs me, and that goes back to something that like my co-host Kyle pointed this out to me years ago. And when I realized what he said, I was like, are you kidding me? But there's a subset of people who post on a certain purple themed text only website for allegedly for role-playing games in an off-topic part of the board. There are people who moderate the board, and there are people who have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of posts. I'm talking multiple volumes of Lord of the Rings amounts of posts that they've made where they've held court on every political matter in the world and hard left hard left. And they will proudly tell you they don't play role playing games. They don't care about role playing games. They're there for the community. They don't give a fig about role playing games. They're just there for the community. Look, I don't own a Ford pickup. I would never go to a Ford pickup web forum and just try and drag the entire conversation down some path that I felt was too important to not discuss. And what this has to do with Critical Role is I have come to realize that there is a subset of Critical Role fans who don't care about Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, and I know this is true because I've looked at the Critical Role subreddit, lost a couple of IQ points, and other commentary. And it's just astounding because there's posts from people who clearly don't get D&D. And they fight, get like, oh, I can't believe X happened. Well, for whatever value you want to give Critical Role, it's D&D. That happens. And I see people say something along that lines, well, it is D&D game. It's going to happen. I know, but I just think, so-and-so character should have just been able to do such and such to advance the story. That's not a role-playing game. When I play Monopoly, I don't not foreclose on people to keep the game going. All right. We're not pretending to be people caught up in a world of high finance and, drama and so on. So, and I'm not saying that's all fans of Critical Role. I've given my opinion on Critical Role and the way I feel about it. I think there are people, probably a very, 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 very small subset of people, and I'm not even talking about the OSR. I just mean people who like classic D&D who tune in and watch Critical Role and they enjoy it, and that's fine. And I look in the OSR discussion groups and I'm like, what? At a lot of people, not everyone, but I'm like, why don't you just go play 5e? You seem to be either running a retro clone, which is usually not. It's usually just 5e with the serial numbers filed off with some airy fairy pie in the sky idea of what a retro clone is. Or what old D&D was like. I'm not even talking about that. I think there's probably a subset of people who like classic D&D who also like Critical Role. And you can feel free to enjoy something on any level you want, right? I'm not going to come and kick your sandcastle over if you can't tell me the name of every Jawa on Tatooine. I consider myself a pretty serious Star Wars fan, and I can't. I don't know if that's a thing, but you see what I'm saying. But at the same time, if you're never gonna engage on it, all your criticism is and suggestions are pointless. I mean, one of the fake Tolkien fans that they had on those, fortunately ratio nuked out of existence, Amazon, Tolkien fans react to our trailer things. One guy was like, oh, I love how Sauron looks. Oh, I could change him. I could rescue him. That is so outside. And I don't care about the sexuality of it. If Sauron was a woman and this was a guy saying that, I would still be like, what is your and these are people who actively fight learning and understanding it. They want to project their perceptions onto it and want it to be like their perceptions. So when I see posts from critters, as Vince Netterson called them there, when they come through with, oh, I think X should happen and Y should happen and Z should happen and A and B never should have happened and C should have gone completely differently. Like, do you not understand? And even some feedback from people is like, well, it's a role play. Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't go that way because this character is my favorite or I hate that character. Guys, that's not, this isn't even a question of, you're playing D&D wrong. You're not playing D&D at all. And these, this subset of people, they've fought against playing D&D. All right. They've actively resisted playing D&D. Maybe they'll come to it one day, but their chief complaints are that it doesn't do the thing that they want it to do. So they'll fight it and they'll avoid it. And I just can't get down with that. Now, if there's people who started playing D&D, whatever D&D, original D&D, first ed, second ed, any of the basics, third, 3.5, Pathfinder or 5th edition, because of Critical Role, then Critical Role did a good thing. That's awesome, and I salute you, Critical Role. But if there's people who just want to sit and consume, guys, get out of the stands. Get in the game. Really. All right, this goes up super chat or no. Write a fanfic for your blog if you want it to go another way. Community is those who are gathered around the table to add to the mix. The peanut gallery doesn't get a vote. Absolutely. Absolutely. Paul, I could not have said it better myself, brother. Could not have said it better myself. And again, I want to be honest. I want to be upfront. I want to be forthright. I'm not bagging on any of you guys if you like Critical Role. I'm not bagging on you if you hate Critical Role. I'm not bagging on you if you are completely indifferent to its existence and don't care either way. I do think it's funny that when the data leak got let out for Twitch, that people absolutely had a baby over how much Critical Role. Some people, some screeching people on Twitter, let me be clear about that. I don't know if I don't look at Reddit much. Just when somebody says, hey, there's a car wreck over on Reddit, I'll go look at it. All right. I'm not a Redditor. But I was just kind of flabbergasted, oh, Matt Mercer is making how much? They're making how much money? Why aren't they doing this with that much? It's none of your gosh darn business. So I don't know if it's canceled now with a certain subset of people or what. Damien says, the more I see the previews of Rings of Power, the more glad, let's see. The more I'm glad that the animated adaptation of Usagi Yojimbo is a far future sequel. Cool. Now, speaking of animated things, I have talked a lot about this before. And if you haven't seen this, you really, really need to check it out, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. At least the first one, Legend of Korra. The individual pieces of The Legend of Korra is way better than the whole of that show. The writing on Avatar: The Last Airbender is a lot better. And there are some animation. You could tell when they were coming to the end of a season. And I know stuff gets done by, Studio ACOM or whoever it is over in Korea in set blocks, but you could definitely tell when the animation was there. There was a scene where a guy like puts his hand on a character's shoulder. Like, we're seeing his face, characters in front of the camera, like right here, and he puts his hand on their shoulder or on their arm or something, and his fingers just turn to a sketch. Like just a couple of lines, like a not cleaned up, you could still see alternate pencil stroke sketch. Kind of not good. But there's an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender where the main character, Aang, hasn't slept for days and days and days. He's supposed to have this big showdown, and he goes for days without sleep because he's so nervous about it, and he starts to hallucinate. And at one point, so he has this is it like a lemur? It's a little monkey lemur thing. You'd have to see it, but basically all of his pets can now talk. And so in this hazy hallucinatory dream state, because he's been awake for like 72 hours, his two pets, the lemur thing and his flying bison, start fighting with each other over Aang's mental state, like who is causing him to be so stressed. And when they start to fight each other, there's like a very anime, that high-pitched shing sound, and they leap away from each other dressed in samurai armor, and the little lemur thing, it looks like and is animated exactly like Usagi Yojimbo. Because the lemus, they have these big ears to help them gliding, but they're like pulled back. And I was like completely geeking out when I watched the show for the very first time with my daughter. I was like, that's Usagi Yojimbo. It's very important. It's manga and anime. I need to explain this, to pause this, look and see. And she was like, okay, Dad. All right. So I have a super chat question from Mikey Mank, and I'm going to answer that now. Do I think Swords and Wizardry is a good representation of OD&D? I sure do. It just like Osric, it clarifies and cleans some stuff up. I think Swords and Wizardry, less so nowadays, but definitely when it first came out, was more important than Osric, because there was a time, first OD&D was available, and then because bitch fits at Wizards of the Coast, it was unavailable. And in that gap, if you wanted to get back into OD&D, like if you played like I have an OD&D set, and then you came to my house and you were like, oh, this is like, I get it, this is how D&D should be, and you didn't have access to it, well, you were just out of luck. Swords and Wizardry filled that, and it did it really well. And I'm not just saying that because I know the devs, but Matt Finch did an absolutely phenomenal job on Swords and Wizardry, and I cannot but say good things about it. Yes, even if you go get the OD&D PDFs and all the supplements, avail yourself of Swords and Wizardry. One, if you have OD&D on your shelf like I do, I have an actual white box OCE set, and then I have my loose OD&D books, and I've got my Wizards of the Coast brown wooden box set of OD&D. I cannot and will not take those to an event to run OD&D with. They're irreplaceable. All of them are irreplaceable. So having Swords and Wizardry, if that's your jam to get into OD&D, that's awesome. Do get the PDFs of it. That is the PDFs of original D&D, though, because there's a few Gygaxianisms in there. Maybe one day we can revisit OD&D and Swords and Wizardry and just kind of do a side-by-side comparison. But there's a lot of flavor in Gygax's work in OD&D that by necessity, just because you can't sit down and just retype someone's words and sell it as your own or give it away as your own. You get nuked from orbit. But absolutely, if you want to jump in and you're like, I want my entry point to be classic original Dungeons and Dragons, but I want to make sure this is right for me and right for my group before I spend, the money on the PDFs and then get them bound and printed. Yes, Swords and Wizardry gets a thumbs up from me. It gets 2 thumbs up from me. Now, Osric only gets a thumbs up from me. And the reason Osric only gets 1 thumbs up from me, and that's not a 50 out of 100, that's not only half as cool. And it's not even Osric's fault. It's just the people who say, oh, Osric is so much of a better representation of AD&D than AD&D is. That is like those idiotic Diet Pepsi or Diet Dr. Pepper commercials where they say, tastes more like Dr. Pepper than real or Diet Pepper tastes more like Dr. Pepper than the real thing. That just doesn't make any sense. But yes, Mikey Mike. Swords and Wizardry is a great representation of OD&D. And thank you for the super chat. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that quite a bit. But oh, Damon said it's a lemur. See, I heard lemu. I heard some characters referring to it as a lemu sometimes. And like I know Appa's, they call Appa a bison, but he has 6 legs, a beaver tail, and can fly. So I don't know. That is one of those things that I would if somebody came to me and said, hey, will you run a D&D game but set an Avatar? Look, I know there's an Avatar, The Last Airbender role-playing game. I understand that. I'd be like, yes, I will. Because it's fun. I mean, we've been going on for like 45 minutes now. I'd be here for another 3 hours geeking out about that show if I let myself. So I won't do that. I won't completely geek out. Sorry, I'm glancing over here at the control panel in YouTube because they move some stuff around and it's like stream settings, concurrent viewers, 12. And then above that, it says concurrent viewers, 9. And then over here, it says concurrent viewers, 10. No, now it's down to 9. No, now it's down to 10. Now it's up to 10 over here, but it still says 12 down there. Get with the program, YouTube, in StreamYard. Hail, Michael Connor, Unbreaded Lobster. Good to see you, my friend. How are you? Michael, were you in the house when Ty was here? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's something I can do. And I already thanked most everyone who was here, but I'm going to thank them all again just because I can. This is my show, and I want to do that. So this is not in particular order of what I think is important, but I want to thank Paul Beckleda, Ty Beard. I want to thank Bards of Greyhawk, Raised on D&D, Viva La Dirt League is awesome. Nutshell Gulag, thank you for stopping by, Nutshell. I so appreciated that. Yang Yan Zhao, of course. Thank you so much to Yang. Thank you to everybody who showed up, everybody who stopped in to the stream. I really, really, really greatly appreciated it. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Oh, Paul Stormberg. Thank you, Paul. It was really swell that everyone, that folks just stopped by. It was a good, fun evening, afternoon, day. So, like 2 hours in, I was regretting it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be here for 10 more hours. And then I was like, no. Technically, really only like 8 hours, because the bards and then the Gygax, the bards will carry the show in the 11th hour, and then the Gygax interview will take us to 12. So really, you've only got like 8 hours to go. But I had enough good guests on that it wasn't death. It really, I mean, back me up on this, guys. It only got pokey when it was just me on the show, right? And I'm not doing that. Oh, my show sucks. Oh, you want to praise me? Okay. No, I'm just saying, I think it was better when I had guests on. It really was better when I had guests on the show. And I greatly appreciated everybody who stopped by. I greatly appreciated everybody who watched. I don't think, like, once we kind of got going after the 12:30 mark, I mean, when Ty was on, I think we really just took off. And we had a good audience, and I don't think we went below like 15 from that point. I'd have to look at analytics, but I don't really care. All I know is we had a whole lot of fun on the show. A conversation does flow better with more than one person. Yes, but I mean, you guys were all in the audience too, and I could react to you. Oh, that's a thing. So Saturday night, or was it Sunday? No, it had to have been Sunday morning, because I was just like, am I refusing to put the vest on unless you hit my... What vest? Put the vest on. But do you answer yourself, Dungeon Minister? That's the question. Am I refusing to put the vest on? I feel like I'm missing a joke. My nightly goal. For a $10 super chat, I'll take my shirt off. For $20 super chat, I'll leave my shirt on. Hello, Shelby. You're here to jog my memory. Of course, Tracy. Of course, and Shelby dipping in. I suck. I know. It was a long day. Oh, DSP does that? No. Then I'm not going to do that. Hey-oh, Imperial Ramblings. But I'm going to put that up there, but just because I should be embarrassed by that. Shelby Lesh, the lovely wife of Tracy Lesh. But no, I had a really good audience. I had a really good guest. And it was pretty great. It was pretty great. Oh, but I was gonna, that's right. So Sunday, Luther, that merits posting up. I was looking at the video and I had thank you, Michael Connor. I put that on the screen, but you didn't super chat it. So I'm kidding. It's a joke. It's a joke. I was looking at the video. I'm like, okay, how many people have watched it? You know, that sort of thing. And it's about the usual for my videos, which amortized over the 12-hour run is not great, but I know it'll get lots and lots of views. But I brought it up on YouTube, and there's no chat stream. There's no chat stream on the replay as I'm sitting there watching it. I was like, oh God, no. Please tell me I turned on chat replay. Because once this is gone, like if I don't turn on chat on live chat, and it's off by default in YouTube, if I just go and set, hey, I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna go live. Then it doesn't automatically save the chats. So I was talking to you guys in chats. I'd see stuff pop up and I'd put it on the screen sometimes. And anyway, I see stuff, stuff would pop up on the screen sometimes. But basically, I had a 12-hour conversation with everyone who popped in. And you're right. Every time somebody came in, or every time he came in, we were sitting at 18 to 20 people, and it was really good. But I look at the video and the chats aren't there. I was like, no, please tell me I didn't forget to turn on chats. Please tell me I didn't do that. Because if I don't turn this on, I can respond to messages and I can put stuff on the screen and I can type things in to the chat. Like I can just go over here in chat and I can type anything any old thing like that, but I will remove that. That's me. But no, I can do any of that. But if I don't record the chat, it doesn't show up later if you come back and watch the streams and people see me. Yes, Michael, I think that's great. No, you're absolutely right. I think he was too. And if you're watching the video on YouTube, you're like, what is he even talking about? So yeah, my heart shrank and then sank when I thought that I had forgot to turn on chats. As it turns out, particularly on a 12-hour long video, YouTube takes a while to process the chat stream. So if you go watch the video on YouTube, it is actually there. The chats are actually there. The video is actually there, but the chats are actually there too. So yeah, I was well and truly like, oh God, is there any, typing into go any way to restore live chat YouTube? How to turn on YouTube live chat after live chat over, things like that. And finally, I just like stumbled sideways and staggered into an information hole where I saw glowing up through the darkness there, shining on me. It said, it takes a while to process the live chats, particularly on longer videos. Michael. Anyway. So yeah, that was a bit of a heart stopper, but I'm glad it worked. I'm glad it worked out. The important thing was, though, the guests, Tracy, Ty, Bards of Greyhawk, Paul, Nutshell, Nick from Raised on D&D, everybody who stopped in and was on the live stream. There were folks that I did ask, and that I kind of hoped they could make it, but maybe next time, maybe next year, we'll see. I might do something completely different. Now I'm going to read Luther's chat. There's only one edition of D&D, the one you base yours on, and all the modifications you do to it. If it is still recognizable to other people, I ain't sure you're actually gaming. Well, I don't know, man. Ty and I were talking about this back on Saturday, as I'm sure you know, Luther, because you were there all day. Luther was sitting up there in the Statler and Waldorf seats, just throwing rotten tomatoes at me all day. It was great. But I mean, you sit down at some tables and it has gone completely Dungeons and Beavers. So yeah, I yes and no. I mean, do your own thing at the table. IRS says, here's an offer. I'll do your resin printing and you do my FDM deal. Catch me over in the Discord and tell me what you're having problems with, and I'll try and help you out. Michael Connor says, this chat is far less degenerate as Ricada's, and that stays up. Yeah, I'm never going to ask you guys balls or no balls. That conversation is never going to be had. So if a guest come on, I'm not going to be. So I might have zinged Ty with that, just because like it was like the hand that like grabbed Ty and dragged him down into that cesspit. What other YouTube channel can you watch and have the hostile? That hurts me. I'm not hostile to you guys. I'm your friend. I love you guys, and I've said it before. There's too few of us. I mean, there's like 5 of you guys in chat. I'm not worried about that becoming a thing. Luther, come here. I'm not hostile to you guys. They will super chat the question. I dare you. I dare anyone to super chat that at me. $5 minimum. If friends are true friends, they are hostile and yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. I mean, it's when you're really, really nice to someone all the time, and you never let go, and you never rib each other, and you never have a little fun with them ever. It's entirely artifice. I mean, you got to be able to just kind of, stick tongue in cheek and have a laugh at yourself. What is Spoonie? I don't know what Spoonie is. And I'm not hostile to you, Luther. Okay, yeah, I am, but so I'm kind of watching on both YouTube and on the. So I got a message. By the way, thank you for whoever gave it a like on Facebook. Luther's like, no, hon, look, I can't. You're going to have to take the kids to soccer practice. I have a full day of plotting the downfall of some 2,000 viewer YouTuber. That's how it is. I have not seen. Okay. A lot of people think that I don't like Stargate SG1 because I didn't watch it. I just like it moved around so much. It was on Sci-Fi Network. It was on wherever else it was on. And like I couldn't pin it down. And I guess I have no excuse now that's streaming and I should go watch it because the little bit I caught, like apparently just talking to people I know, all are on Netflix. Thank you. Now I know. The people that I've talked to, I said, yeah, I've seen this episode, this episode, this episode, and this episode. They're like, you have seen like the pinnacle of the show in those episodes. I'm like, oh, really? So I have seen some of the best SG1, and it has impressed me. Like if I said I've seen this episode, this episode, this episode, and this episode, and they were trash, and they said, well, those were really regarded as the best ones, I'd be like, nope, I'm going to stay away. Okay, so I know that their resident Klingon, and I'm sorry, I'm just framing this in a way that I understand. The guy Teal'c. I'm gonna watch it, Luther. Oh, point taken, Damien. Point taken. Anyway, the Teal'c, he had the gold thing on his forehead. I remember the punchline of the episode, but I'm sure, as I recall, as I faintly recall, the episode was really good. There's a little girl that they helped out, and her thing is, like she likes squirt guns. You know, she had a squirt gun. And at the end of the episode, Teal'c is standing there with a super soaker. And one of the other characters, I think it was Daniel, I think it was the guy played by James Spader in the movies, comes over and says, hey, what's that for? And he says, Kitty required an upgrade with her weapon in both firepower and range. And he just kind of looks at Daniel for a second, like barely moves his hands just enough to point the gun at it, and just let him have it in the chest, just with like a full blood. You could tell this thing was pumped to like 50 psi, and just doesn't break his face. Just hoses him right in the chest with a super soaker at like a foot range. And apparently, like the whole episode was really good. And the other, I think it was the same character. He had this really trippy dream. It was one of those, he's in a coma and he's having a dream, so kind of dealing with dream sequence. And that can be really good or really bad. Oh, that's really cool. Those two are close friends in real life. That's awesome. According to both Michael and Vince. And the other one was anyway, yeah, I was just saying the other one is he's having a dream sequence, and the whole dream sequence, he dreams he's human and a volunteer firefighter. And to just hear him not talk in that stilted speech patterns that he had was so cool, and the character was so well written, and it is really good. It shows where characters get to come out of their comfort, the character's comfort zone, and be something else can be really, really well done. All Our Yesterdays and Plato's Children and Amok Time, when Spock got to be emotional. And also at the end of he fights Kirk in the Pon Farr. Anyway, all the episodes when Spock got to be a little, I was never a fan of TNG really at all. But in the later movies, when Data had an emotion chip in his head and could act like he could actually have emotions, and he could turn them off sometimes, but that was kind of cool, changing things up. And I respected the little bit I knew about SG1 for that entire sequence. Do you SG1 fans know the episode I'm talking about? And I'll tell you something else about SG1 that I liked and I respected. So many science fiction movies and TV shows show the government as crooked or incompetent. The little bit of Stargate that I saw, and this even includes the movie. Yeah, Stargate. It's a TV series based on the movie. The little bit I saw, like when they would come back and tell that colonel in Cheyenne Mountain, like, that planet we just went to is completely screwed up. We need to never go there again. He'd be like, okay, you guys saw it. I'm taking your word for it. He was never oblivious. He was never followed the rules so much that it could like endanger humanity. And only at the very end did he like, just at the last minute no, when the scientist came back and said ABCD, he'd be like ABCD, but never to the point of just like, I'm just going to listen to what you guys say. He said ABCD. I said, yeah, ABCD. Okay. I really liked that a lot. I really, really liked that a whole bunch. So I have great respect for that show, having never seen all that much of it, because it always seemed to it always seemed to go over well. Now, I mean, it's very much a product of its time. It is absolutely British Columbian science fiction. It's like, we're going to an alien planet. You're filming in a part of a national park in Vancouver, guys. It's the same one you filmed in last week. The desert planet is obviously a sound stage with a blue screen, but it was still good. I mean, it's like, we're going to California. No, you're not in Los Angeles. You're just driving around Vancouver. SG1 was basically a Dungeons and Dragons party. I'll take your word for that. There is a rogue government agency. There are good guys and bad guys in the government. Well, I mean, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's more believable, certainly, but it's not like, only the characters, only the main characters are the good guys in the government. The rest of the government is crooked or stupid. I mean, that just so overplayed. So what are some other you guys, the 90s were actually a really good time for sci-fi TV. I mean, I know it feels like a second renaissance now. It's like, oh, we had good sci-fi in the 60s with Trek and Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and stuff. And then now we're living in the second. I think the 90s, there was a lot of dreck in the 90s, but I think there was a lot of good stuff in the 90s. No, Big Trouble in Little China is D&D. It's not Shadowrun. It is Dungeons and Dragons. Shadowrun up my ideal D&D movie. Anyway, no, but 90s sci-fi, B5, all of the here's what I think, firmly, 100%, unwaveringly. All of the shows, DS9 included. DS9 included. That have a major plot arc to them. In science fiction, in modern science fiction, you have Babylon 5 to thank for that. One of the problems, as I understand it, I could be wrong about this, that JMS had marketing the show was like, look, I have a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and these characters develop. And they were like, well, yeah, but we want something we can just show in any order. And nobody wanted to put that. They wanted B5 for like, make sure we get 100 episodes so we can sell blocks of it to syndication. And people can just jump in and he dug his heels in. And it wasn't until Paramount Entertainment Television Network believed in him and did it. And so what did they do with DS9? They quickly retooled DS9 to give it a story arc. The same story arc, I might add, but that's for another live stream. And there's nothing wrong with bottle episode shows, don't get me wrong. But I mean, we had Babylon, Babylon 5, Stargate, Farscape. I loved me some Farscape. Now, I'll tell you what, that was a show. Now, I've never played Spelljammer. So when people say, oh yeah, Stargate or Farscape, that is like Spelljammer on TV. If you want a Spelljammer TV show, I just, again, kind of viewed it as a big D&D adventure kind of thing. Farscape was awesome. And then, things got dark. I don't know. Maybe Jay Shiro Finney will not send me a Christmas card next year for saying this. I don't give a fuck. But that's a joke, by the way. That's just a little joke. But I really, really like the BSG reboot. I really did. There were parts of it that irritated the crap out of me, like character behaviors that I'm just like. But in the overall, the BSG show was great. Fantastic writing, fantastic music, fantastic acting. Wait, Luther, is that Zothros or is that Zothros? Which? You got to specify, buddy. We've talked about Lex before. Lex was a little... Lex was a little... but anyway. Back when sci-fi... Yeah, back before sci-fi literally dumped its sci-fi content so they could show wrestling. Wrestling makes us more money. We're doing wrestling. Sci-fi is what we say it is. I mean, when they changed it from the Sci-Fi Network, I still have some media around here that's got the classic sci-fi logo, and they call it Siffy. But Paul, I'm going to say this in closing. Every TV show, B5 had a boxing episode, and it stank on ice. Every episodic TV show has a boxing episode where it's just like, it's supposed to be about character development. I mean, Garibaldi's best friend shows up to be in a Muay Thai boxing contest. God bless Sunteko. They got him to dress up like an alien and be the officiant at the thing. It was awesome. And it was the worst episode. The boxing episode on BSG also stank. And yeah, I think the quality was not that great towards the end of it. But they were also being pushed to wrap up the series. SGU had a boxing episode. Boxing the Shark. Dungeon Minister's got it. Boxing the Shark. I love it. All right, guys, listen, I got to wrap up because I got my Monday night AD&D game starting in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you to everyone who threw up a super chat tonight. That was pretty awesome. I really do appreciate that. That's a thing that you will be able to do in the future if you want to. SG Atlanta's had a boxing episode. So yeah, I'm going to wrap up now, guys. Y'all have an absolutely wonderful evening. Tomorrow night, I'll be back holding court on just whatever. And then after that, we're going to play some first edition AD&D. You guys have an absolutely wonderful evening. Thank you all again. I'll see you tomorrow night. Peace out.